for some people trying to scare their friends, brothers, or sisters when out in the woods. However, today and after that summer, well, the stories would be all too real for me. Today, when I'm out hunting, fishing, and camping with the family, I keep an extra pair of eyes in the back of my head, and I bring a gun. I warn my children of this monster, and that it is in fact real. Now back to the summer job. So my dad allowed me to take the little trailer with him for camping and whatnot.
Right.
He would drive me down to Happy Camp. He's spectacular, to be honest. It was not until the second week that I found tracks which threw me off a bit. But before I tell you about it, I'll tell you what I was warned about. Well, the day my bosses officially hired me, they said they were having issues here and there with what was described as an enormous ape-like animal. Of course, I thought this was all just for fun with the new guy, but they described it weeks before I got there. As far as the description goes, Jay gave me almost the same list as my bosses did. However, the discrepancy of the color, as Jay said it was black, solid black, and the others mentioned a more reddish-brown color. That gave me reason to question the truth behind the claims. The next day, I went out to take a walk around and to fuel up some of the machines and start them up. Heavy steps to the left toward the vehicles, yet heading away from them. They were very heavy steps and easy to follow in the dark. I flashed my light just in time to see the most brilliant red eyes I'd ever seen in my life. I couldn't make out a face so much except for the fact that whoever it must be was using stilts, because those eyes were near a young tree that was more than 14 feet tall, and this person was at least 9 feet of that. All of a sudden, I felt as though I should have dropped the gun. A growl that I could practically feel. All of a sudden, it being a real animal or creature of sorts was still foreign to me. However, I was constantly trying to figure out what else those eyes could be attached to for the rest of the day. Evening came, and this time I was a little on edge. I was still wondering, what in the world? That thing sounded like it moved rather quickly through the dark, at least a whole lot faster than I could, and I'm a healthy linebacker. And so I remember it was like being in the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, because everything was rocking back and forth, including me. Growling, grunts, screams, a weird loud gibberish is what I could hear as they continued to beat on and push the trailer back and forth. Fortunately, back then, things were made rather sturdy, but still, I was afraid that this thing was going to come apart at the seams. And whatever they were going to tear me apart as well. I tried to take in all I could, just in case I lived through it. I'd be able to describe these things. They were tall. I think one of them must have been around the 9-foot mark, while the other seemed a few inches shorter. But it was dark, and they both had a slight hunch to them, so I can't be sure of either other than the stature. The eyes were huge and red, to tell you the truth. I could not make out exact hair color, although the larger one had a patch of gray on its back. Both, however, were mostly dark overall, as far as I could tell. They sat there for hours. I'm not kidding. They sat there until the sun came up and at my modest camp just outside the mine. The nights, however, were a different story. The once familiar and comforting darkness of the mountains had begun to take on a sinister edge. Strange events started to unfold just outside my mind, leaving me with an uneasy feeling that I wasn't alone. At first, I dismissed the odd happenings as nothing more than tricks in my mind played on me after a long day's work. But yet the tracks I'd seen earlier lingered in my mind, hinting at something far more mysterious. The incidents around my mind began to pile up. More often than not, I'd find my truck disturbed or catch a glimpse of an unknown creature darting through the shadows. I could no longer deny that something was amiss in these mountains. One day, as I made my way to the mine shaft, I crossed paths with a man who seemed to share a similar lost in the task at hand. My thoughts focused solely on the glint of gold that could change my life. But then, without warning, a spine-chilling wail pierced the silence. The sound reverberated through the mine shaft, causing the very wall to tremble with its force. My heart skipped a beat, and for a moment I was paralyzed with fear, my pickaxe frozen in mid-swing. The wail came again, louder and more desperate, as if the very mountain itself was crying out in agony. I could no longer deny that something was terribly wrong I had just witnessed. These creatures were nothing like the tales of ghosts and monsters I'd heard growing up in the Appalachian Mountains. They were something entirely different, a living, breathing enigma that defied explanation. I stood there, my heart still pounding in my chest, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The air around me seemed to hum with a charged energy, as if the very state. I had recently begun researching for a young adult science fiction adventure book project that was focused on the Cowlitz and Yakima tribes, wilderness survival, and a young boy who was rescued by Sasquatch. My neighbor, I live on the west side of the Cascades, connected me with a very well-known figure in the Bigfoot world, an elder from the Yakima tribe. We talked for hours, many times over the phone. It looked ritualistic. None of the trees had fallen over. There were no signs of anything being ripped from the ground of exposed roots. We then went to the lake where there were miles of mud exposed from the low water level. Hundreds of footprints were found, all with distinct toe markings, as if someone or something had walked barefoot the night before. Bumping Lake is a hotspot for sightings over the years, and local legend tells of families of Sasquatch that tower up to 10 feet tall, friendly and curious with respectable visitors to the area. We must have been close to the edge of Payette National Forest when we stopped for the night. We prepared a camp, and then, let's call him Walt, Walt showed me the first kill. The young heifer lay in a well-matted down grassy spot, and Walt said the killer had obviously returned to feed several more times since he first discovered the kill. The cow was getting very ripe, so we returned to camp and fashioned a quick lean-to.
These are words to work on. Supplies, solutions.
His children. We silently broke camp and returned to Walt's home with the sad news for his family. Walt and I agreed to never speak of this incident, but I've always lived with the guilt that I, as a government official, had likely murdered an innocent animal that was just being as it was created and living by its means. I've also been plagued by the fact that this was one of these Sasquatch beasts. It may have been worth the effort to search further, but I can imagine the reactions from my hard-nosed supervisors for a request for agents to hunt for a killer ape-man. I'm telling you this story as a way of getting it on. We were camped on the lakeshore part of the Signal Creek campground, right beside the culvert. It was around 10 or 11 in the evening and was getting dark. Our kids were all asleep in the tents beside us, and we were relaxing together at the picnic table beside our fire. I was facing the lake, but T was facing the creek, and Kay was dozing, when T exclaimed, "Look up by the creek, scared." It seemed to be playing with the axe, but I don't know if it knew what it was for. It never chopped anything with it, or swung it at anything. It just seemed to want to drag it around on the floor. It never made any sound, besides a slow huffing breath sound, with the axe scraping. T was just huddled in her bag like I was, hardly daring to breathe. After about 1996, a retired Ketchikan equipment operator, Larry Thomas, spoke of a startling encounter that caused him to draw a gun. In July 1992, I was doing security work on the Pipeline Road, now Ravella Road, just north of Ward Lake, 8 miles north of Ketchikan. I was working the night shift, driving the gravel pipeline road that goes some dozen miles north from the mill. The job included driving and checking all the locked pipeline access gates. It was a clear night. I had just driven up to gate 2, and the time was approximately 2:30 a.m. That was no bear, Larry. That was a Kushtaka. The other guard told me, I don't care what some say. A while back, I went through the same gate, gate 2, got out to lock it, and heard a noise. Something hit me on the side of the head and knocked me out. When I came to, I found a rock beside the vehicle. Another night soon after, I saw it feeding on the grubs from a log below the back of a building. If heading home after an encounter was all a witness did, then most reports would end peacefully enough. But many Alaskans carry rifles or guns. In southeast Alaska, there have been several cases where hunters have apparently lined up their sights on, or even shot at, a bear that wasn't. One such situation occurred with Barren of Island fisherman and hunter, Mr. H.A., who's alleged closely going to leave its home range. With the glaciers on one side of Yakutat and the ocean on the other, there just aren't a lot of other places you could go to. If berry pickers thought Forest Lake was worth going back to, perhaps a Sasquatch might as well. As to stalking or possible curiosity behavior towards humans, the extreme scarcity of humans being along the edge of this St. Elias range might account for that. So might a local scarcity of other Sasquatches for that matter. On rare occasions, some hunters of Ketchikan, a 44-year-old Haida artist, told of a close encounter he had with a large hair-covered creature in 1982, and illustrated the face in the sketch shown. The sighting was less than 1 mile east of the previous Bear Mountain report, in the hills just north of Ketchikan's Bear Valley suburb. It was the fall of 1982, and I had left. The jaw was big, but didn't stick out that much. He was resting or sleeping. You could tell it wasn't a big human or a bear. It seemed to have its legs stretched out in front of it, but I couldn't tell exactly. The lower edge of the opening blocked the view of his chest and lower half. He wasn't making any noise, and neither was I. His hair was about 4 to 6 inches long, maybe longer on the side of his head.
Alright. Tuesday. Done. I know I ain't seen you since fucking Thursday. Or I don't know, maybe it was Friday maybe. Fuck, I don't know. You know, I said I was coming back out here Sunday. But I didn't. Alright, well. Ideally I would be working every fucking day, you know, but some days, you know, I gotta take a fucking break, man. That don't mean I'm not gonna get back to it and get back to working hard. Look, it's like I said, man, I'm not David Goggins, okay? What I'm trying to accomplish here, goddamn, what the fuck? Something in my beard. What I'm trying to accomplish here doesn't really require Navy SEAL fucking intensity style training, okay? So, I really don't know why I'm even fucking explaining this. Well, I do know why. I'm talking shit for my fucking self, because, you know, I do, it kind of pisses me. I kind of be pissed off at myself a little bit when I miss a goddamn workout, yeah. Because I let that little guy, that little inner bitch, they let him tell me, it's alright, man, let's just sit in the fucking house today. It's nice and cold out there, it's cozy in here, let's sit in the house. It happens sometimes, you know? I mean, sometimes it happens, man. But the key is, you know, you can either be like, in the next day or two, like, well, I missed that day. Well, I might as well just take the whole fucking week, you know. And, you know, at the end of that fucking week, you're going to be like, well, I might as well take another week. I've done that before, okay? But the more important thing is, if you fuck around and miss a damn day, which ain't nothing wrong with missing a day, man. Sometimes your body needs rest, especially me. I'm 45 fucking years old. But anyway, you know, you miss a day, you know, if you're like me, you're going to be a little pissed off at yourself. Just get your ass back out there the next day. And you see how I was doing that earlier, talking to you, like making excuses until I ain't doing it intensely. I don't need this intensity. I'm making excuses for myself, you know. That's me fucking trying to make excuses for myself. And you know, that's just something gotta work on, man. Gotta get to where I'm beating that inner bitch every time. Every time he says, hey, we don't really have to do that. We can go in there and lay down. I gotta beat him every time. You know. Maybe I will one day, maybe I won't. I don't know. I don't think everybody beats him every single fucking time. Those people are rare if they're out there. But hell, I'm rambling now, man. I got shit to do inside. I'll see y'all back here Thursday for some more chess. I'll take it easy.